Welcome back, baseball fans, to the 69, 70, 71, 72 Carryover League. And what I'm going to do here is we're still months or so away from the draft for the Summer League and finalizing the rosters pre-draft, and it is trade season. It's hot stove league and all that stuff, and I have a couple trades I want to do tonight for the league to get things underway. A couple of ones that I mentioned earlier, and what I have to do as far as the accounting for it all. This is the Summer League. This end of it, California, first team to pick. Last team to pick is the Orioles, won the World Series. All the teams in between. This is the draft order. And one of the trades is that the Texas Rangers are going to relinquish the rights to Buddy Bell, who should be in here, to the Cleveland Indians. Cleveland will now have the rights to Buddy Bell. And we'll just find Cleveland, which will be a little further ahead here. Where is Cleveland? They are... There they are. They now get the rights to Buddy Bell. And in trade for that, the Indians are going to send the rights they have to Chris Paul from 1969. That's all they're going to give him for it. It's not much of a trade. The rights to take, if they want, Chris Paul, who is in the Indian farm system. He now belongs to Texas. And the reason they're doing this is that Chris Paul... I also have Baseball Reference up on the computer that you don't see. But the Chris Paul card has 2 good years. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Sorry about that delay on that. I had the guy's first name wrong. It's Mike Paul. My bad. I should have checked that before I started the video. His name is Mike Paul. I just made my research all messed up here. And so Mike Paul, the Rangers have the rights to Mike Paul for the 69 cards should they choose it. And the reason for doing that is, on Baseball Reference, Mike Paul, for Cleveland in 69, he's got a 3.61 ERA and a .34 WHIP. But for Texas in 72, he's got a 2.17 ERA and a 1.2 WHIP. So instead of there being competition about which organization claims him first, the Rangers have both cards now, and they don't have to worry about, Cleveland snatching him up before the Rangers get a chance to snatch him up. And Buddy Bell gets the rights to Buddy Bell, go back to the Indians where he started his career. Next trade I want to do is the Dodgers have the rights to Burt Hooton, and they're going to send that to the Texas Rangers straight up trade with the Rangers again. They picked back-to-back in the draft, by the way. And the Rangers will give them the rights to Nolan Ryan. Now you might say, hey, wait a minute, Nolan Ryan for Burt Hooton? And the reason it's a straight-up trade, there's several reasons why I'm doing it this way. One of the reasons is that the Rangers weren't really the beneficiary in this period for Nolan Ryan. He pitched for California and then Houston in the early 80s, and I just put him on Texas for the final year in 84 just because I knew he pitched for the Rangers in the late 80s, and of course has a career with the Texas Rangers. But I didn't feel like they needed to benefit greatly by making the deal. And another interesting thing to consider I'm looking on Bert Hooton for a second, is that from the period of 1972 to 1980, I would say Bert Hooton does quite a bit better for more contending teams, the Dodgers, and to the Cubs to a certain degree. Hooton had a whip below 1.2 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these years. Whereas Nolan Ryan, during the period pre-Houston Astros, Nolan Ryan did not pitch that efficiently because of all the walks. So I found that, Hooton, you might actually want to say, well, how come it's not Nolan Ryan and someone else or Bert Hooton? So I just made it a straight-up trade for simplicity reasons. And then the third trade to do is a little more complicated. Looking at the Dodgers, who they have the rights to now, we'll open them up again. They have the rights to Ryan, Buckner, Russell, and Baker. Ryan will be packaged into a trade to the Angels, which is a little bit too complex to get into right now. Buckner is going to be staying with the Dodgers. Russell's going to stay with the Dodgers. The player to move in the next deal is Dusty Baker. Now this is going to be a trade via proxy. Dusty Baker will move to the Atlanta Braves. However, the Atlanta Braves don't really have the thing the Dodgers want on their team. When you go to Atlanta, they have no protections in place and really no players that the Dodgers covet. However, there's going to be a third party involved, and the third party is going to covet Orlando Cepeda, and I'll get into that shortly. Orlando Cepeda, who actually moved around from a few organizations. This 1970 card has 2 more years left. It's an incredible card, 34 homers and a .305 batting average. But the Dodgers are going to have Wes Parker and then eventually Steve Garvey and even Bill Buckner play first base. So they don't want Cepeda. But this principal will move in the deal. And when I bring in the third team involved, it will all make sense. And that third team in this 3-team trade is Chicago White Sox. And the principal that the Dodgers want from this is Tommy John, the 69 card. So this trade is a lot more complicated now. We have players moving from 3 organizations, and we're doing them from different years, and this all needs to be reconciled. So the reason you can't do a straight-up trade is because you've got a 69 John and a 70 Cepeda. So to make this trade work, Tommy John goes to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers will get rid of a 69 player they don't want. And they simply have a couple catchers from 1969 they don't want anymore. Pagliarone and Bob Taylor. Who's more valuable? Doesn't really matter. Let's say it's Pagliarone, because he had the big year. So Pagliarone will be the toss-in. And now the Dodgers are complete. Pagliarone from 69. He'll go to the White Sox to take the Tommy John spot. And then a 70 player, and then we can put Cepeda on the White Sox to play first base, because they lost 2 first basemen. They lost Greg Walker and Barbero Garbey. So they will send a 70 player, and since they just acquired a catcher, they have a couple catchers here. They have Hopkins and Josephson, both from 1970. And the Braves say, let's take the left-handed hitter, because the Braves need left-handed hitting. So they'll take Gale Hopkins, and actually he can even play first base for Cepeda. So Gale Hopkins and Dusty Baker will end up, and this will be a great deal for the Braves. They lose Orlando Cepeda, but Dusty Baker goes into play center field in 72, and Gale Hopkins it's 286, and is a left-handed hitting catcher, something they didn't have, and plus the Braves are short left-handed hitters. So that's a win-win for the Braves, Dodgers, and the White Sox. Very complicated, 3-team trade, and there'll be a lot more trades to do. We'll put this with Atlanta, and then I will make the moves in the spreadsheet that correspond to it. And with that, I'm going to pause the video here, and then we'll take a look at the spreadsheet movement. Okay, so we're going to go to the spreadsheet here and show how the moves were made. The first move was the rights to a player, which was a little creative way of making a trade happen where there was no actual player movement. So what I did was I had the Indians throw in a retired player. In this case, it's Julio Franco was thrown in on the deal. So it was Julio Franco and the rights to Mike Paul for Buddy Bell. Franco will immediately be retired, so that you have the 1007 still protecting a guy here, 7, so you still have a combination of 8 there. And this is just a memo that they have the rights to Chris Paul should they want to use them. And then we go to Cleveland. I scroll up to the Cleveland Indians. We see in this slot, which used to be the Julio Franco spot, they had 8 retirees. Now the Franco spot's been replaced by Buddy Bell, and they have the rights. So now you have 1 and 7 for a total of 8. And the player involved too, I'll go to reference here, look at him again for you all to show you what's going on. Mike Paul, here's the player. And so for 69, he was an Indian. And for 72, he was a Ranger, and he was better for the Rangers. He had good years in both years, really. But this now the Rangers have their choice. It was just a very, very minor move for record-keeping purposes there. All right, so let's get to the second trade, which was the straight-up trade of Bert Hooton for Nolan Ryan. And this is pretty easy to do with this the spreadsheet. I'll start with the Dodgers down here at the bottom, and you see that they are still at 4004 again. In the spot where Bert Hooton used to be, Bert Hooton is gone, and Nolan Ryan is taking up an extra row in the spreadsheet, but he's got his $10,000 value, and the $10,000 value with Bert Hooton is gone. So it was at 4 before the deal, and it's still at 4 after the deal. 4 keepers, 4 retirees. Let's go to Texas for that deal, the second deal they did. And for Texas, it's pretty simple. They simply used this row in the spreadsheet where Nolan Ryan was, and they swapped it in for Bert Hooton. The thing is, they're going to flip him again to the Cubs for Bill Hands, who won 20 games in 69. So they're not going to have Hooton very long in Texas. They'll trade him to the Cubs. But for now, the accounting is correct for Texas. They're still at 1 keeper and 7 retirees. It's just that this retiree is now Julio Franco. Instead of keeping Buddy Bell and Nolan Ryan, they're just keeping Bert Hooton, and they're going to retire Julio Franco where Buddy Bell's slot was. Next up, let's go back to the Dodgers again. And the Dodgers, they don't have the rights to Nolan Ryan replaces the rights here where Bert Hooton was. Now Dusty Baker, we can erase him here. He's not on the team anymore. And Tommy John is on the team. John slides into the hole where Hooton was. And what the Dodgers need to just acquire a retired player to get the math up to 8 again. But that can be an incidental player. So Tommy John comes to the Dodgers. Pagliarone leaves the Dodgers as well from 69. And you see, when you do the math, they need an 84 guy who's retired. This 84 guy who retired will come from the Braves. Let's go now to the White Sox before we finish up with the Braves. The White Sox ended up with Orlando Cepeda from 70, and he fit into the same year that catcher Gale Hopkins was in. So he directly replaces him. Tommy John's card has been removed from 69, but Jim Pagliarone is added. So they added and subtracted 69 and 70 players. So they've reconciled. And the last team is Atlanta, who ended up with Dusty Baker. Now, he's a keeper. He technically was an 84 player. Okay, we know he was an 84 player as a keeper. He's going to be a 72 player moving forward. But what has to happen is they have to cut some wood. They're over by the year of 84. One of these 84 guys needs to be sent to the Dodgers to finish the trade. And since Dusty Baker is going to play center field for the Braves, you may as well let it be Dale Murphy. So Dale Murphy will be the player sent to the Dodgers, as they need that 84-year player to complete the reconciliation. We'll put him right here. Don't worry, fans. Dale Murphy's not going to play for the Dodgers. The 84 Dale Murphy, and he will be retired. And then when you go back to Atlanta again, you'll find that Dale Murphy, delete here, and you also delete there, and now they are at 1007. Dusty Baker is their keeper, and 7 guys are being retired, and the years all match up after that trade. I mean, once a trade is complete with the 3 teams, it all should reconcile for each team having 8, 6, 4, and 2. 8 cards from year 1, 6 from year 2, 4 from year 3, and 2 from year 4. So Atlanta has reconciled. Let's go to the Dodgers again. They're still going to make moves. They're not done. So the Dodgers, they're 3-0-5 now. They were 4-0-4. It's still Buckner, retiring Gibson, retired the Dale Murphy now. They're going to keep Russell. They're going to keep and improve Russell and Buckner. Sosha. Ryan is only going to be traded to the Angels. Hershiser and Raleigh return. The Ryan trade's a little more complicated because they're going to get Bill Singer. They're going to trade Ryan and Singer for Messersmith and Don Sutton, and the Angels are going to get Don Sutton from the Brewers in another trade. So it can get really complicated, which is why having a proxy like a 3-team trade makes it a little more accounting you have to do, but once you do all the accounting, it's very satisfying, and it's kind of a fun way of making your league competitive and closer to history, and trying to see how these trades play out. So that's it for tonight's trades. We'll do another section of this. We'll probably have a few more sections of this before it's time for the draft. Thank you for checking it out.